So we're starting out today's episode from your apartment, which is inside the Cheesewright Studios Building.
Yeah, it is.
Which is amazing in and of itself, the fact that you have an apartment in this building.
I know.
And then, so what we'll do is we'll just kind of go out and you'll take us on a
tour.
On a tour of the building.
Yes, yes.
After you.
Let's go. So I'm above the grand room. As you can see, these apartments on this layer, there's 3 of them, are up slightly higher. There's a little staircase up to us. That's because the grand room has those 20-foot ceilings, so we needed to go up a bit.
Amazing.
This whole upstairs area, I recently learned, first of all, it was offices for all the drafts people that Cheesewright needed to design these huge mansions and hotels he was decorating. But also I learned they had intact showrooms up here where they would invite clients up and a room would be decorated. Wow. And it would show them, okay, this is what your bedroom could look like. This is what your living room could look like. These are the darling doorways above these 3 balconies from the front of the building. They're so cute, and what a cute design element having these window doorways above the balcony.
Can we step out?
Yeah. Look at this.
Oh my God.
I always want to see Juliet up here, Romeo down there. But yeah, it's they have the balconies in front. There's the Cheesewright Studios logo in the middle of the building.
Ah, cool.
They're absolutely charming, and they were made here. Cheesewright had a wrought iron shop in the back, along with a full-service wood shop, and he did all this kind of work here. Again, it was advertising. He was showing people, look, I will not only decorate your home, I will build your balconies and your gates.
Amazing. And then, so originally it was some offices, some sort of show units, and then
on the second floor.
That's really cool. It's so quiet in here once you kind of step out of the main street.
As you can see, one thing that contractors always notice about the building is the depth of the walls. The walls are deep. That's because they were hollow. The whole building is a technological marvel. They have slats here, kind of like crates on either side, and then the inside is hollow. That was to run early phone lines, and the Bell Company itself, inventors of the telephone got involved and put in a service they called a talk call, where they put in early phone lines, and that way every single employee of the building could be immediately reached. You have to understand what a huge innovation this was, because this had not happened before. Before, I guess people had to go on foot or have, a messenger go find someone. This way, every person in the building was accessible. Now we take that for granted.
Big time.
In 1927, that was revolutionary, and it made the building that more special that he had designed it with the Bell Company to hold those lines. It's a masterpiece in every way, in engineering.
Even in the walls.
In the walls. He also had fireproofing everywhere. He did early even earthquake proofing in the building of the building. In every single way, this building was built like no other. I always tell people, when you walk down the upstairs, you can tell what's an original doorway. First of all, by the paneled doorway. Cheesewright, as I have mentioned, was always involved back to his ancestors with woodworking shops, and definitely a master of the craft of woodworking. So these beautiful paneled doorways with the transoms above them, because this was pre-air conditioning days as well, and it's hot here, as we just learned with our 98-degree weather. These transoms would be opened up to facilitate the cool air moving through. Yes, yes.
Cool.
The place is cavernous. People do not realize from the street how big it is. There's 30 apartments now in it, but there were always a lot of offices and, like I said, showrooms up here that they would invite people up to check out. But take a look at this. It goes around and round and round.
And it doesn't look like anything looks the same as any other area.
Yeah.
Like it's all very
Yes.
different and unique to itself.
Totally, yes. It's just such a beautiful building in every way. And it's cavernous up here, and I'll tell you, late at night it's a bit scary.
Yeah, sure.
It's this gray painting the landlords have done. First of all, kind of brings it back to those Navy days when, as it was a Navy building connected with Navy intelligence for 50 years after Cheesewright crashed in the Depression. But
Do you
also,
think
you
just-
see things up here late at night that are a bit scary, and I have personally seen them. This is the old freight elevator.
Ooh.
It's a hand-operated freight elevator. It actually was mentioned in the publication about the building because, again, it probably was a matter of pride to have. It's probably it was a steam-operated elevator.
Can we open it?
I don't think so. Let's see. Let's check it out. Oh, look at that. You
Ooh.
never know. Never say never.
All
It's
right.
filled with furniture, of course. People move. Thank goodness they're using the elevator
True.
and not the staircase.
There you go. Protecting
But
the
they
mural.
can't- It has to be operated by the super. They can't operate themselves, and that's why it doesn't get a whole lot of use.
Whoa. Whoa. Old and wonderful. I was going to
Yeah.
ask before, do you think that soldiers lived in these units while, like in the, what was it, 30s or 40s
Well,
rather?
I don't know. All I know is
Yeah.
it was a long, long time military building.
Right.
And I know they were doing construction here. They took over Cheesewright state-of-the-art workshops, and I know they were building things in there, and I know they were planning. I have some stories to tell about that. I'm not sure if I should tell them in this podcast or
Once
the next.
again, we've hinted at the
But I have
little
some
bit of the
very
mystery.
interesting, eerie stories about those days that I
Oh,
have
boy.
heard firsthand by people. It's the kind of building, I think I was telling you, people who've had any involvement with it at all feel drawn to come back and tell their stories because they can't read about it. There's no book, there's nowhere online, there's no magazine article, there's nowhere they can go to get this off their chest, what they have experienced with this building.
And we hope that this podcast would be a nice place for them
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
And for the world to kind of learn about it.
Yeah.
And
it's
here we
time.
are at the gorgeous mural.
Here we are, the beautiful mural, top of the stairwell, the center of the building. It's looking down onto the atrium. It's a
Right.
typical French Quarter style building, and the atrium is at the center of the building. The whole building gravitates around that beautiful atrium. And I do tell customers of the restaurant it's the most beautiful outdoor area in town. You are outdoors, but you're surrounded by brick. Many times that moon is right overhead, and it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful design to have an atrium. And we are classic French Quarter architecture by doing that. Here's
Not sure that we've mentioned this yet, but during the week, except for Mondays, this is a very much operational,
Monday and Tuesday.
wonderful, Monday and Tuesday it's
Yes.
closed, but the rest of the week it's a wonderful, wonderful restaurant.
Yes,
Both
yes.
a tea house and dinner. I think you guys are still doing
Yes,
that.
yes.
So
And venue. We rent out rooms for parties.
there you go. So if
Yeah.
you're digging the podcast and you want to see this building, you can actually come here, have a nice tea or
Yeah.
dinner or whatever, and then
Oh, the best.
and then come and actually look at the history that is
Yeah.
this building.
In every way, it's a throwback. The restaurant's a throwback to another era. The tea is a throwback. The building's a throwback. This
true.
is a beautiful chandelier, which I'm almost positive was made in the building to show off Cheesewright's, talented wrought iron.
Oh, you think the ironwork
Yes,
was done
I
in
think
the
it
shop?
was done, and I think it was done as a showpiece to show people that they could make chandeliers and to show what amazing wrought ironwork they could do. Cheesewright he just had come from this family that went back centuries, connected with craftsmen. He knew good craftsmanship like the back of his hand, and he hired the best craftsmen, and he was respectful of them enough to constantly be showing off their work in the doors of the building, in the staircase, in the chandelier. And he was a visionary in every way, designing the building to hold this super important historic mural. This is one of
I
my
love
favorite
this.
windows
Love
in the
this
building,
window.
the round window. that he installed here. I did learn the building was first conceived in 1918. So like I had suspected, it took time to plan. It took about 9 years of planning for this building, and you can tell what planning went into it. He found the windows, he designed the whole building to hold the mural, he made the walls hollow for the early phone lines. It was conceived in every way. This is a beautiful 17th century doorway here and in the back. He imported to use for his building. You can always tell how old this doorway is by the height. It's short because some people were shorter back then, and that's how old that doorway is. It has a beautiful sun motif over it.
I love
and that's been duplicated in that atrium sun fountain out here on the atrium. So in every way, this whole area is about the sun.
Yes.
And I heard, I'm just going to give a hint of a future podcast.
Yes.
When Einstein was here, he would actually come out to this atrium and do prism work with the sun.
Ooh, wow.
But we have the sun fountain, we have the sun motif on the doorway. Work. This front court here has some flagstone, imported flagstone. It's called Valley of the Moonstone flagstone.
Oh.
And there's something very moon-like about it. At night, on the full moon nights, it really does glow. It's an absolutely beautiful flooring. We've got the porpoise fountain here, which is our symbol. We've got the balconies with the CS ink right above it.
I love that.
So you want to talk about a pretty building. On everywhere there's arches everywhere, arches on the sides.
And the wrought iron work, that's original?
Yes, all the wrought iron work is original. In the beginning, as you see when you come through that gate, you have a beautiful burning heart symbol,
Oh my God,
which is just so
never noticed
touching.
that. And they're both
Yeah,
different.
they're here. This one at some point broke off, but this one's still intact. And there it is, the burning heart symbol. I many times photographed it. As I was saying, the whole idea is you walk through that gate and you're in Paris. And there was a guy living here from Paris. I asked him, he said, yes, it reminds me of home when I walk in. I've had contractors notice the incredible brickwork. I mean, the hardest thing possible to do in brick is arches. And again, as I was mentioning, Cheesewright would hire the best craftsmen. They were able to make these beautiful arches in brick, which is extremely difficult, but extremely sturdy too when you're talking about the early earthquake proofing. There's another arch there, arch, all the way back. That's definitely in an English tradition and in a French Quarter tradition. Every Cheesewright building I've ever seen employs a lot of arches, and what a beautiful shape that is. Here's an original wrought iron gate. They again have hearts on them on either side.
And they have the little flowers at the top.
Yeah,
as
they're
well.
just beautiful.
Oh my God.
There's one on either side of these gates.
Certainly feels when you walk in here that there is love.
Oh,
It feels
yeah.
a little jagged or like a little jittery because of the past
Right.
that we will talk about. But I
Right.
think the intention of it
Oh yeah.
is love. I mean, you're
I definitely
really,
get
really
that
feeling
feeling all the time.
Yeah.
And I think whatever happened, which is, I think that the idea would be to bring it back to the original intention, which is
Sure.
the opposite of what actually the building was used for
Right.
for several years.
Right.
Shutters everywhere, these charming shutters. This is the outside of the grand room window. You can see it's decorated. He's got some cast concrete up there.
Yeah.
Here's another, see it's twin gates on either side.
Right.
And again, arch, all the way back to an arched window. Just a beautiful look to it. Down here, if we keep going to the end of the building, these windows here, I actually saw a pair just like it in Greystone Mansion. So my guess is while he was building Greystone Mansion, he took a pair for himself and decided into his building, and there they are. Shutters, you got little balconies. This was actually a replica. This was a gift shop originally when he opened. He had a little gift shop. I guess where he sold, because when he invited people here, he wanted them to take something home to remember the experience, because what he had planned for the building was a whole day-long experience. So this was modeled after a Kensington gift store that was so famous and so antique, it now is in the Kensington Museum in London. That window there that he copied for his building.
Where's
and that's the end.
Which one's your window? That one?
I'm
Oh wow.
I'm right. I'm right up here.
Yeah.
See how it goes higher?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm up there above the grand room, looking out on this tree.
Is that oh, that's from the fireplace.
Yes.
Right.
Because I guess at one point it was. Oh wait, no, this is me right here. I can't even know which one. Yeah, I'm right there.
That's you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's another apartment.
Oh,
up
got it.
there.
Cool.
Yeah, it still has the original drain covers, which are so, you can tell how old they are because they're pretty.
Yes. Right. Everything is so ornate.
Yeah.
Now I feel like nothing's really ornate.
They don't do it anymore. They just, that damn modern people love it. I never did like modernism in terms of architecture.
Sure.
Because that whole idea of pruning everything down, they took out all the pretty stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
It's amazing, there's so little people who live in LA. You don't see a lot of brick. Most of the brick buildings were torn down.
Right, and now I think it's right.
They were deemed earthquake unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep walking around here. But this one, this one from the beginning, it was a mistaken idea that the Navy was the one who did earthquake retrofitting, although they did. I read in the early Cheesewright papers, they had from the beginning thought about earthquakes. There must have been some, as there always are. How can you live here for 5 years and not have at least some kind of earthquake? And they included that in their engineering for the building.
Because they took so long to get it together.
Yeah. So like I said, in
Excellent.
every way this building is an engineering marvel. This is again one of the beautiful show windows he had. Every window along the front is different if you walk along
I was
the
going to
front.
say, it must be noted that it's for a reason
Yeah, they're
that the
all
windows are
different
different to
because
show his capacity for design.
Exactly, because usually you would see a building and every window is going to be the same. It might be beautiful, but they're all the same. Here they're all different, and of course you would just die to go back in time because they were all show windows. And they'd be showing his draperies, they'd be showing the lampshades, they'd be showing the hand-painted screens. They'd be showing here on the corner, Cheesewright was very fond of Talavera glass. He was so in decorating his residences, he was so fond of it. So here's another beautiful but different window.
What is this room now?
This is now the office of the current owners of the building.
Very
Yes.
nice.
But on this corner, he had a Talavera glass shop. Talavera was a type of pottery made in Mexico. He liked it so much he became a partner and arranged to have it shipped up here. Cheesewright had, again, let's go a little bit into his history. He had been with Gillows of London. He was a relative of Sir Joshua Reynolds. He had been for centuries involved with shipping back and forth to America. And that's a lot, that mural has that huge panel on shipping. Well, Cheesewright knew all about that, but he got into here in California the shipping up of pottery from Mexico, and he dedicated that whole corner storefront to showing Talavera glass. Here we have the side panel plaque. This is the first place you see it noted that this became the new U.S. Naval Research Building. That's the only place, and there's a plaque here, 2 plaques that call it the U.S. Naval Research Building. You go online and you put in Naval Research Center or building, you don't find anything. There's one little appendix in a Google book. They wiped the record clean of what that is or what it meant, but it was that for 50 years. This is a side entrance here, and there's something interesting over here. Here's the original Cheesewright safe.
Whoa!
They had a big safe. I guess sometimes people paid in cash or to put their precious objects. And that thing's deep too. I've seen it opened. It has shelves and it goes way back.
Wow.
So that's his safe. I noticed when I did the tour of Greystone Mansion, he had in the woman's closet, there was a safe for jewels and there was a separate safe for furs. So I guess theft was always an issue, and here they're trying to prevent that.
Wealth, yeah.
With their safe.
Sure. It's interesting that this side of the building is not in the gray, it's in the tan.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, that's how they printed it. I just want to show the old loading dock.
Yes.
It actually has, again, another beautiful gate. It's more simple, but of course, Cheesewright couldn't resist but do an arch. You've got an arched entryway, an arched gate, and this is where Cheesewright needed a huge loading dock. He had his wood shop in the back, he had his wrought iron shop in the back, he had his upholstery shop, plus he was making furniture and staircases, and then he was shipping in and out furniture from France.
He needed this height.
Yeah, and he was he was an expert in French antiques. Several of the shops in the front sold them, and he was decorating enormous 40,000 square foot mansions, so he needed a lot of shipping. There apparently is a train track not too far away, and I'm sure there was constant activity back and forth between Cheesewright Studios and the train, as in every day. I just want to show you the back of the building. As you can see, all of a sudden it looks much more warehousey. That probably is original paint. The building was painted white when it was built. I think the Navy decided it was just too much maintenance. As you can see, white paint does chip.
Right.
And but all warehouse windows. All warehouse windows, upstairs, downstairs. In the back, you would look at this building, you wouldn't have the slightest doubt that it was a warehouse, that it was a workshop, and that's what largely it was. At least half of it was.
So it's almost like those. You've heard of these the track homes out in Santa Clarita, where they do these show models. Like you can choose 1, 2, or 3 or whatever, and it's funny because it's sort of the same thing.
Something like
way
that
back.
in terms of the windows.
Yeah.
And in terms even everything that he put in his building was an option for a client.
In real life, what a wonderful way of knowing whether you're going to want something.
Yes.
You could see it.
Yes.
You could sit on it. You could touch it.
It was conceived, and like I said, it was conceived for 9 years. It was a very, very, very ambitious project. It was innovative. No one had done anything like it before, and that's another big part of the reason it's really important that the building is recognized and appreciated for what it is. This is no ordinary building. The building itself is not in any way ordinary.
I feel like that really goes without saying. And again, if you're in the Pasadena area and you can stop by and just walk in, just to the courtyard alone, I mean, I feel like you're transformed through time. It's really worth a trip.
I had a location scout who had been up and down the coast to Washington, Oregon. He said this is definitely the most beautiful French Quarter style building on the whole West Coast. And it's just a beauty in every way. And because of it being so beautiful, everywhere you look, you see details that just are kind of jaw-dropping, like right there. Again, what always impressed me about the arts and crafts, and I saw it in the mural too, is the attention to detail, how they weren't lazy. They never ever cut corners. The whole goal was let's not cut a corner, let's make it more beautiful, because they're 100% artists.
I mean,
if
even
anyone
the storm
did that,
drain, whatever
anyone
that is
did that now, they'd like, oh, what's easiest for us?
Right.
What's most
Cheapest,
cost effective?
Yep.
What can we do fastest? That was not the mentality that went into this building. And into the era, the great arts and crafts era. So let's, are we ready to go inside?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we can tell we have an original doorway here because of the transom and the panel door. This is now our VIP room. In the day, it's a beautiful room. We've had some beautiful candlelit dinners here. It just looks beautiful by candle. It looks pretty day or night. But a beautiful room, and again, I always tell people every single room of this place, you don't need a flash until it turns dark, because he's got high windows with natural light. That is such a big asset. First of all your photos are going to come out great. It's just by the eye a lot more pleasant to have natural light. As you can see, we don't have the lights on, and we don't need them on. Yeah.
No, the room is lit beautifully. Plus, if you throw a few candles in, forget it. It's gorgeous.
It's beauty. Let's just walk through here. This is just the office. We don't need to worry about that.
This would be a good place to record. Offices. It's very quiet.
Down here we have our kitchen. We have a big kitchen in the back.
Wow.
I think Cheesewright must have had some kind of kitchen, but I don't think it took up as much room as the kitchens that were put in. Definitely starting in the owner right before us, because they had a restaurant before us. But I think this was either part of the wood shop, the metal shop, but he must have had a kitchen. It was he couldn't just run to McDonald's in those days and get lunch. And they mentioned in the article that he did feed his staff. So anyway, this is our kitchen. We're a full-service caterer. We have a pastry chef.
Oh, look at all the trays, the tea trays.
All kinds of cute tea service.
Beautiful.
Here, teacups. This is our tea china shelf. My boss custom orders teacups, custom designs teapots. That's china beautiful. And cups from China. 100% bone porcelain, has them made just for us, Madeline Garden.
Oh, nice.
So, and I've learned the value of porcelain. You can drop those and they don't break. Once in a while they break, but they're incredibly strong. And I realized why porcelain was so valued through the centuries. Here's the beautiful grand room. This was the showcase room. That is a 1,500-pound stone cast, hand-tooled fireplace. It was modeled after a fireplace in Italy. It's a beauty, and it actually works. And we do turn it on in the winter. It gets cold in here. It's very hard to heat with that high ceiling. There's a 20-foot ceiling, a beam ceiling. Every building I've visited that I know that Cheesewright was the interior architect has at least one room with a high ceiling with beams. He loved beam ceilings. He was a master of beam ceilings. If the client had more money and wanted it more intricate, he would stencil on the beams.
Oh, wow.
And he did that at Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, which is another Cheesewright design. But in his own building, even in the pictures from the beginning, which we can post with the podcast, he had a pair of bare wood. Cheesewright was a typical artist who was always on the edge. He wanted to know what was coming next. And so he came from Edwardian, he was moving into arts and crafts, and he was kind of getting in touch with that, with the feeling of leaving the wood like it natural, that was the most beautiful. He didn't need the stencils. He didn't need to overdo it.
Sure.
And that's part of the reason the building's so beautiful is because of the simplicity, but also the beauty. A beautiful lead glass window, high. Look, see again, you see the depth of the walls, that curve, like you saw in the upstairs window. He would put the curve in the transom. It just adds to the beauty, you know, of the whole thing.
So 1927, 1928, whatever, clients walk in here, what do they see?
Well, they walk in the door and they immediately see antiques from different eras, artfully arranged for them to just admire. And they were invited to walk around to the different shops and come into the showroom. And if they were serious, probably, because as a business person, you had to make sure someone's not wasting your time.
Sure.
They would take them upstairs. It starts showing them. Yeah, say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
here's your bedroom, here's your living room. Let's meet with our draftsperson and let's start. Let's go with your mansion.
Beautiful.
Or your home or your hotel. You know, Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. That's just led. You know, one of the things that just drives me crazy with Cheesewright getting lost to history is that Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, that was where the first Oscars were. You know, the ghost of Marilyn Monroe is supposedly there. It's a super famous interior and it's beautiful. I visited there. I was absolutely blown away like it was in a museum. And I noticed this building too, when they that early Star News article said it's like going to an art museum. I felt that going to Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. I felt that going to Greystone Mansion. He wasn't an ordinary designer. His buildings were like museums. So where's the credit? His credit has got to be restored.
Well, that's what we hope to accomplish here as
well. He wasn't just designing mansions. He wasn't just designing rich people's bedrooms. He was doing public works that were going to last forever, literally forever.
I would hope that maybe one of the episodes that we do, we can take like a field trip to the Greystone Mansion, take a field trip to the Roosevelt, and just kind of do a walk around.
Yeah. The easiest one for access would be the Roosevelt, but the Greystone as well. I noticed they have another tour coming up. I saw them post it.
Nice.
So let's just go around. We have others arches. We now have a fountain here. I noticed in the early photo of this hallway, Cheesewright had a mural. Always in his buildings, he would include artwork. The whole centerpiece of the building is that woodblock print mural. He had another mural here. The current designer, Madeline Garden, Michelle Frost, has hired artists to create a mural for the Grand Room. And her only instructions to them was paint a dream. That is 100% in keeping with what Cheesewright himself would have done. And I have to say, in terms of historical renovation, she did a fabulous job in capturing the feel of how Cheesewright would have done it himself, which is saying something. You do not see that very often. Let's just go through here. This is our wine lounge, our bar. We have a temperature-controlled wine cellar. Back here is, we call it the backstage garden. It's the back space. It's a beautiful dance floor, as you can see. Has a karaoke sound system, better bass speakers. But this is the old loading. This is the other side of the loading dock we were looking at from the other side.
And now it's a gorgeous wedding chapel.
Wedding chapel. It's great for proms. Beautiful. We needed a bigger space because people kept calling for events of 150. And that's too many for the Grand Room. Also, I keep telling filmmakers, we've had a couple student films done back here and photo shoots. Everyone, the light is just, again, these windows let in fabulous light. You're going to get, if you do any kind of portrait photography or any kind of photography, this is a great studio. This is probably original paint. It's the white again. That's the building was painted when it was built. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole restaurant. It has this mysterious feel the whole
this
building,
room is very
special.
It's
special, and it's definitely not used enough for how beautiful it is.
Sweet.
So that's the space downstairs. Is there anywhere else we should explore today?
No, I think today we're good. I know that there's something underneath that we might try to get, but that's that's a whole other story.
The basement spans the breadth of the building, and it's something Cheesewright was proud enough to mention in the original papers. Again, he probably needed a ton of storage and for furniture and draperies and whatnot, and he used it. I did notice when I went down there, it wasn't any ordinary shelves. Again, he couldn't do anything without artistry. They were nicely made shelves. They weren't that roughly made, obviously, done well. So yeah, that's a whole nother area, and that was part of the building, the downstairs.
Yeah, and that'll be sometimes in the future.
Yes.
But for now, I think we will call it a day with this lovely episode, and we hope to bring a video version of that as well with stills that we're going to take and put together, so you at least will have a visual. But if you can make it to Pasadena, 1030 South Green Street? East Green Street. Do yourself a favor and come down here, meet Ginny in person, and have yourself a lovely afternoon.